Here's a shot, somewhat interesting, nothing special, just something that could be done very easily to enhance this. Give me your suggestions. Anyone, speak up. Just tell me. By the way, someone showed me recently that if you have yourself muted, you can hold the space bar and speak, and unmutes you for the time you speak. So we could be muted so that no background noises and things. Okay, so on this image, how do you improve this image? This is a very simple technique. How would you improve it?
Sharpen the background.
More contrast.
Contrast.
Highlight.
Contrast?
Contrast and highlights.
Yes, how would you create the contrast?
Darken the background.
Darken the blue.
By darkening the background, what would be an easy way to do that?
My way of doing it would be to go into Camera Raw and the HSL selection and select blue illumination and lower the illumination.
Yes, you're very close to what I would do.
Also, you can do the haze. It really brings the contrast up.
Okay, here we have, I'm in Adobe Camera Raw, and you see on the color mixer, there's a little icon here, which is the targeted adjustment tool. When you click on that, if you click on that, and when I bring it over, you see in the image, it's actually a different type of thing. And if I click on luminance rather than hue, if I click on luminance, it means lightness and darkness. So if I take it in on the blue, hold my left mouse button down and move it either to the left or down, it darkens that color throughout the image. And that easily creates contrast.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's one way to do it. And if you want to change the actual hue of that, you click on the word hue. I still have the targeted adjustment. Hold down in the blue and either move it to the right to make it bluer, move it to the left to make it less blue, all the way over to a purple. So very creative, very easy things to do in Adobe Camera Raw. Now look at the difference of that image, and all we've done is go into Adobe Camera Raw and darken the blue. It makes it more three-dimensional. So yes, that's very simple. Now there's a couple things else I would do to this, excuse me, down in the lower right corner. What should we do with that?
Get rid of it.
Yes, how would you do that?
I would crop the whole thing a little bit and see what's left and maybe clone it out.
Well, if you crop it, you'll get a little too tight to this one leaf coming up.
I would go beyond the leaf so I don't crop the leaf out.
Okay.
Another way, maybe get a piece from the left and double it and flip it and move it to the right.
Okay. Anyone else?
Content aware field.
Yeah,
and let's see. With that, you can select what areas you want to use as a source, and it will blend it in if you just make sure that it only selects the sky.
There's something else. Let me show you something. If I do a select all, get dancing ants around it, and go to edit, transform, warp.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
I do this often and just pull that down a little bit. Hit the check mark and then clone in from what's there. Get rid of the dancing ants, select, deselect. And I'm not saying one way is better than the other. I just want the reason for doing this stuff today is for you to learn, what can be done with some of these things, because I've shown them in so many ways, but this way you get to see how to do it. And you, by telling me how to do it, you're emphasizing for me what you've already learned, which is good. What else can be done? Just one more thing on this image. Just what else could be done? Well, two things. What else?
On the
What is it?
Get rid of the shadow in the middle of the flower.
Say it again. In the middle, do what?
The shadow, remove it.
Remove the shadow. Okay. Let's, you could do that with the clone. Let's try doing something with the spot healing brush and see whether it does anything for us. And you notice I'm doing just a little bit at a time. If you do too much with a spot healing brush, it doesn't pick up all the textures the way you want them. How about the highlight here, down in this part of the flowers, on the lower right portion of the flower?
Burn it?
Yes, darken it, yes.
Yeah, darken it.
Darken it on midtones so that the eye doesn't go down there. In fact, let's darken around the flower, all the way around it, and the leaf in the corner maybe, a little bit.
I
What
see you
about-
only use 12%.
Here's why. Good question. When I darken, what I learned in the darkroom many years is don't try to darken it heavily. And here's the reason you did that in the darkroom, you didn't do it heavily, is it took 20 minutes to develop a print through the chemicals. So if you made it really dark, and then you say, oh, it was too dark. Well, how much should I lighten it? If you learn to do just a little bit at a time, you are able to build up to what you wanted and get there much faster than trying to come down from being very dark. So that's why I do it a little bit at a time and then build up so that I can see what's going on. You notice I did 3 times, I did burn tool. So here's, once, twice, 3 times, yeah, build it up a little bit so that you don't overdo it and try to go back on it then. One more thing. How do we bring out the center of the flower more?
I would use the sponge tool and darken it.
Well, I wouldn't say darken
the
it.
midtones.
I'd get the sponge tool, and again, I'll keep it on a very low percentage, say maybe 15, 20%, 18%, and just saturate a little bit once. Do it again if I want more, twice. But I think twice is too much for this. Let's go back to seeing what it was like before we used the sponge tool. Now, the sponge tool, in this case, flattened out the details. So if I use the sponge tool, I would then go to the burn tool, put it on shadows up in the range up there, and just darken the darkest pixels in that area, because that's all you're doing when you're burning shadows, you're darkening only the darkest pixels, so it brings out more 3-dimension. Also notice on this image that once we've done all of this, that highlight where we did some initial burning looks a little too bright now in relation to the other areas. So I then would do a little more darkening right under that area where it's very bright. One last thing, how do I get your eye to come in from the corners?
Vignette.
Vignette, yes. I go to Camera Raw. Down to the vignette. Make it darker, feather it. Let's take a look. So very simple image, and we've done some very simple changes to it. Look at how it was when we opened it and where we are now. Very simple.
And is that a bee flying or what is that on top? Can that be lightened ever so slightly to?
Yes, it
zoom
is a
in?
bee.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we can. It's a bee. And I'll zoom in on it so you can see it.
And would you sharpen this at all?
Yes. Could do that also. And the bee, it's all right. He's not in a good position for showing off. In fact, I have other shots where he's turned around. And that's the kind of thing you should do when you're in the field doing it. So I don't think that this was that major of an image or that it's striking so well, but I thought just some simple changes, not very complex. And I wanted to see if you folks could see it, and you did. You understood. So we went from there.
John, in the lower part, the petals in the lower part, when you burned them, I noticed you did not use burning the highlights.
No, good question. I've found that burning highlights only creates gray tone, doesn't really do what you want it to do. And the other side of it is dodging shadows doesn't work very well. So if you're dodging, you dodge midtones or highlights. And if you burn midtones and shadows. The tool doesn't work very well with burning highlights, and the dodge tool doesn't work very well dodging shadows.
Thank you.
John,
Yes.
before you started, if you went back to the original image and you just went up to adjustments, contrast, go up to image adjustments.
Yes.
Image, go up, do it.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Image.
No. The original image. Go back to the beginning.
Okay. All right.
I wanted to see if it would get you close to what you were trying to do.
Adjustments. What would you like to do?
Contrast. Isn't contrast under there?
Right. Just in contrast. You want to do that?
Go up to contrast. Yes. And move the contrast slider and just see what happens.
It doesn't do a lot, does it?
Well, move it to the right more.
There it is all the way.
Oh, move it to the left more.
There it is to the left.
Okay. Thank you.
No, that's good to ask the question. It's why at times I go quickly to saying, oh, I have this blue all around, so I can just darken that blue without anything else. The other aspect was going up to image, adjustment, brightness, and contrast is that it will affect the entire image, meaning it'll affect the flower as well as the background. But the way we did it with just the blue color in Adobe Camera Raw didn't change anything else.
And John, is there a way to do that?
Somebody has background noise going on. Would you all mute yourself until you have something to add, please? So go ahead.
John, can you do the same thing that you did in RAW in Photoshop?
Yes, here's how you would do it. You would see that the sky is a certain level of blue. So you can go into the magic wand with up in the top in the options bar, sample size 3x3, tolerance 33 or somewhere in that range. And then click somewhere in the blue and it will select that color of blue throughout the image. Now there's Sabor over here. If you hold the shift key and click on that, it picks up the rest. And I think maybe over here, no. Okay, so now I've picked up everything that is bluish, but it did pick up some on the leaf here. And the way you would then need to adjust that is go back and get the quick selection tool on minus sign up in the options bar, minus sign, or hold down the Alt key. Let me make this bigger. and remove that from selection so that it's just the sky. You see, there's a little bit of sky here. Let me remove this. See, it's getting a little trickier now, trying to get the sky and not the flower. Hold down the shift key, pick up the remainder in through here. Yes, so now I have the sky, like I have over here. Now you go up to adjustments and get levels and move the middle slider to the right. So it's adjusting the sky, but it's still, it picked up some things on this leaf. So you need to do a little more sophistication of what you have selected and not selected. That's why I tend to go to Adobe Camera Raw. It just picks up that color easily and everywhere.